Thanks so much for joining us today on LGBT, Healthcare and Me. We welcome special guest Jerome T. Evans, chair of the Minneapolis Public Health Advisory Committee.
You know, when I grow my family and I have kids, my husband is white. If they look like my white husband, then they'll receive a better education than if they look like me. And that's not acceptable.
And we also introduce our newest segment, Minnesota Mirror. Who are we?
So I just got 3 questions for you today. The first question is, how do you feel about the condition on black men in the Twin Cities?
Coming up, Minnesota POC Pride held its 2022 Twin Cities POC Pride Festival. Jack Jablonski publicly comes out as gay, and the Minnesota Timberwolves forward Anthony Edwards apologizes for making anti-gay comments while describing a group of men standing on the sidewalk. Plus, some of our Pink Power panel members feel as though queer and trans persons always get the short end of the stick.
It was made to seem like it was only gay people could get it, and only gay people could have it. Same.
If you or a loved one still needs to get the COVID-19 vaccine, visit the Vaccine Connector at the website address listed below. Health-related headlines begin right now. The Hill reports Minnesota Timberwolves forward Anthony Edwards apologized for making anti-gay comments while describing a group of men standing on the sidewalk while he was sitting in a car. The Minnesota Timberwolves said they are disappointed in Anthony Edwards for making the anti-gay remarks that he posted on social media. The organization said the Timberwolves are committed to being inclusive for all and apologize for the offense that this has caused to so many. Edwards apologized in a tweet for making immature, hurtful, and disrespectful remarks. The 2022 Minnesota POC Pride festivities were held throughout the weekend of August 20th and August 21st. Now, this is the annual weekend of Twin Cities events and activities, which celebrate Black and brown, queer, and trans persons. This year's activities included a spectacular speaker session and brunch at the Minneapolis Hilton and Towers, a colorful celebration at Lush Nightclub, a boat ride, and a fun festival in Powderhorn Park. Well, ENN attended this year's POC Pride festivities. That's right, your favorite news and information source provided a battalion of nurses to give free COVID-19 vaccine and booster shots, along with $50 Visa gift cards. At the finale, held at Powderhorn Park, ENN had the opportunity to talk to POC Pride Executive Director Raymel Givens and event organizer Ramona Reto.
A record number of African American women to really participate in our festival. It's been awesome.
So it's just been great just to see everybody getting along and everybody embracing each other because they haven't seen each other in a long time. Just to see the smiles of people and understanding that the vendors that are here, people enjoyed seeing them. So they're definitely we're gonna get them back next year.
Jack Jablonski, the Bloomington Jefferson High School hockey player from St. Louis Park, who became paralyzed from the chest down after suffering a spinal cord injury during a high school hockey game in 2011, says it's been overwhelming in the best possible way since coming out as gay. Now, NPR reports that the popular hockey player, who is now the leader of the Jack Jablonski Foundation, says he's so grateful for all of the personal messages. Jablonski says it's been bottled up for quite a while, but at the same time, it's all been worth it since I've had the opportunity to come out and be who I am publicly. Jablonski also serves as the digital media content specialist for the Los Angeles Kings NHL team. And in the spirit of Jack Jablonski, this episode is dedicated to any queer or trans person who may be feeling alone or who may just need a friend, because here, our sacred word is all. Well, this episode, we kick off the launch of our new Minnesota Mirror Who Are We segment by sending our latest Ian and Hire, producer and reporter Louis McCaleb, out to Nicollet Mall and other Twin Cities locations to ask 3 questions. Number 1, what is the condition of black men in Minnesota? How do you think the Minnesota Department of Health is doing during the COVID-19 pandemic? And have you been vaccinated? Why or why not?
All right, so I just got 3 questions for you today. The first question is, how do you feel about the condition on black men in the Twin Cities?
I feel we got a detriment, kind of, we a rare breed to an extent. There's a lot of us walking around. You can look around, at any time of the day, you're going to see maybe 20, 30 of us down here mobbing. But, a lot of us, we're not down here on business. I feel like as a black community, a lot of us got to get more focused. We got to, tunnel vision and figure out what we want to do, figure out what we're trying to get out of this life, and, just something positive and get back instead of, creating a detriment to our community.
Okay, the first question I have for you today is, what do you feel is the condition of the black men in the Twin Cities?
I feel like my colored people, my brothers, are not getting treated right. They're not getting the same treatment as the other gender, like the other male. So, and they should improve on that because it's not fair.
All right, I just got 3 questions for you today, brother. So the first question I have is, how do you feel, or what is the condition on black men in the Twin Cities?
In my opinion, the condition of black men in the Twin Cities, we need community. We don't have a place where all black men can come together and there not be some type of fight or somebody get killed. We need healthy community. How do we get healthy community where black men can come together and build?
All right, second question I got for you. Have you been vaccinated? All right, why didn't you get vaccinated?
I don't really trust that. I never really had COVID, but I keep myself clean and I keep myself, taken care of. So I don't want that.
So the second question I have for you, have you been vaccinated?
No, I'm not vaccinated.
Why didn't you go get vaccinated?
That's a good question. I'm against it because half of the people that I know that are vaccinated are still getting the COVID and are still getting sick, so I don't understand. They're saying it's preventing you from getting the COVID, but it's not.
Right.
Next question.
All right, the next question I have for you is, have you been vaccinated?
I have been vaccinated, and I'm pretty upset at the vaccination because come to find out nobody really needed to get vaccinated.
And the last question I have for you today is, how do you feel about the work that the MDH has been doing on COVID? If you don't know what the MDH is, it's the Minnesota Department of Health.
I feel like we could be doing a lot more. It's a little sketchy to me. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know everything that they're doing, but it seems like there's a lot more that could be doing.
The last question I have for you is, how do you feel about the work that the MDH has been doing on COVID?
I've never heard of that. What is it?
The MDH is the Minnesota Department of Health. Have you ever heard of that?
No, never heard of that.
All right, the last question I have for you is, how do you feel about the work that the MDH has been doing on COVID?
I don't know what the MDH is. I've never heard of the MDH, but I don't know. I know people are dying still, and it don't seem like it's getting no better.
All right, thank you. That's all I have for you today, brother.
Good people.
In just a moment, we'll talk to the chair of the Minneapolis Public Health Advisory Committee about his franchise where he promotes COVID-19 vaccines, and we'll ask Jerome how he likes being an Atlanta transplant in the Twin Cities area and why he ran for and why he may be running again for state office in Minnesota. And one of the things that you do is chair the Minneapolis Public Health Advisory Committee. That's a big deal in the middle of the largest pandemic in 100 years, and some would argue emergencies that are facing us. Tell us about your work and what's important to you there.
I think one thing that's important to note is that I did not start, I did not agree to be co-chair of this committee during the emergencies. The emergencies happened to us. during my time as co-chair. And just in brief, the Public Health Advisory Committee takes issues that are brought to us from City Council or from community, or that the 13 ward representatives and other agency representatives bring to the committee. We explore them, and we try to look for a city policy solution to the public health problem that's in front of us.
What about the LGBTQ issues? Have those issues floated to the fore in your tenure as co-chair?
In Minneapolis, we're seeing an uptick in new HIV infections. We are discussing that. We're trying to see what recommendations we can make that will reverse that trend line, while also discussing the pandemic, while also discussing racism as a public health crisis, while also most recently discussing how we can make sure that women have access to contraception and abortion within the city of Minneapolis, should things change at the state level. So we're trying to do it all. Probably the recommendation to City Council that I'm most proud of, it's also very recent, and that did occur during my time as chair, has to do with the elimination of lead from the city of Minneapolis. But in our work, when we mapped elevated blood lead levels in children, we found that often it's the map of where poorer people, people of color, and renters lived. You can't see my hand on the thing. That map overlapped with the map of elevated blood lead levels in children. And it really felt as though we were using kids, poisoned kids, as canaries in the coal mine, when we had an easily solvable problem. I want to say this is my 8th to 9th year living in Minneapolis. And so I've started to tell people that I'm from Minneapolis. Once you get my age and you've moved around a little bit, you know, where are you from becomes kind of a loaded question. You know, it's almost like, who's asking? Because in Minneapolis, it feels like you need to be here for at least 20 years before you can start saying you're from the city. But I traveled, I went down to Florida, and they don't know. So, but I grew up in Atlanta, and I was there for quite some time. I had my undergrad at Georgia Tech, and I pursued a JD at the University of Georgia. I practiced law there for a while. And then shortly after, I believe it was the first recession of my lifetime. I think it's so hard to get them all straightened out at this point. I moved to Minnesota because if you Google it, you'll find that we are very high ranking when it comes to quality of life, and quality of life is very important to me. And I am very happy with the decision. I met my husband here. I've got a couple of careers here going now. I've run for office here. It feels like home to me.
Do you talk to other friends of yours who might be newer transplants to the Twin Cities with that same experience, or do you find that others that you talk to have differing experiences?
Oh, well, you know, it's no secret that people who move to Minnesota can have a tough time finding community. And I really think, thinking about it, that being a member of the LGBTQ community is helpful, because we choose our own families, one, and we really appreciate the value of intentionally creating community. And
since you've been here in Minnesota, you've done a lot. You talked about public office. Tell us, what was that like to run for public office? Why did you choose to run for public office? And what did you want to add to the Minnesota landscape that's not here right now?
Oh, okay. A triple question. So I ran for office for the Minnesota State House in the Lake Nokomis area. And what really spurred me is that I ran into a situation that was kind of unique to my experience and skill set. Maybe another unicorn situation. But a nonprofit had wrapped a train with text, and it said, Minnesota is worst in the country for our children of color. And, I dug into that, and I had a thought of, oh, well, someone should really do something about that, because, when I grow my family and I have kids, my husband is white. If they look like my white husband, then they'll receive a better education than if they look like me, and that's not acceptable to me. Now, I was chair of the neighborhood association at the time, and it was kind of like, oh, well, maybe I'm the one that's supposed to do something about the situation that's like literally unique to my experience and my future expectations. There are two ways you can check me out. One is the television show Bottomless Coffee with Jerome, and the other is the podcast Bottomless Coffee Podcast, and they are both available through bottomlesscoffeeshow.com. We've gone through really extraordinary efforts, in my opinion, to make sure that people are able to hear from authoritative figures in long form about this important issue. An hour-long conversation with someone on, say, long COVID, like the program manager of long COVID, for instance, or the person who created the program that determined who gets vaccines and when vaccines were in short supply. First of all, in terms of the LGBTQ community, great job so far. Statistically speaking, as I read the data, we have a higher vaccination rate than other communities, which is fabulous. I will say that the virus continues to change. And so we just have to be mindful of continuing to listen to those public health authorities who are giving us the latest advice as to what to do. And we have to make sure that we're taking that advice and then looking at our own lives and making sure that we're making the necessary changes. So, I was in a saloon and I didn't see anybody in a mask. But if you ask public health officials what you should be doing, you hear mask and crowded spaces. And so just make sure we're really being intentional and thinking about it in terms of our own risk, really, at this point.
For any young person that might be watching you, because there's clearly something special about you, and for that LGBT person or that person of color that might not have self-worth, can you just share with us where you get a little bit of yours, because you seem to have so much, and how that might help you navigate this lifetime?
My advice to any young person or any person that is struggling with that is to first fill yourself with love. I don't know, it might come from religion, it might come from your family, it might come from a place within yourself. But if you are so full of love and knowledge of who you are, then you don't really have room for the other stuff.
This week, our Pink Power panel members discussed monkeypox and also talked about why queer and trans communities often seem to get the short end of the stick.
HIV does not have an assignment to any type of gender or folk or person. Anybody can get it. One thing that bothers me is that the way that it was introduced, it was made it seem like it was only gay people could get it and only gay people could have it. Same thing as with monkeypox. But to me, I do think that it could have been made as a world warning versus a stigmatized, look at them. You get what I'm saying? So to me, that is where I find the issue, because we're all still walking around human beings. You don't know who anybody is. They could say they're straight. They could say they're gay. You don't know if they are or not. So the thing is, until you are physically with them. So for me, it's like, no, we need to really focus on how disease affects humanity. And how do we stop it? You know, same thing how we've been doing with COVID.
Just once again, the most impacted communities get left behind, and they tend to have the higher rates of whatever disease is fashionable at the time.
It's really odd that a lot of things get stuck on us. That's how I feel. It's like we get, it's so many different things that happens with either HIV, now monkeypox. And then if it's anything else, you know, it's just like, why does it land on us? Why does all the damnation have to land on us? We are, in a sense, to the world that is in a Christian bubble, you know, not saying that we don't have our own Christian faiths. I'm saying in a certain Christian bubble, we are easily to throw it at them. You know what I'm saying? And that bothers me. Especially in pedophilia. I'm like, why does it have to be on us? That's why I post my children. I love my kids. I would never do nothing to hurt my kids. I never had an evil thought to hurt any child. So to me, in any kind of form of way, why do we have to get these labels? That bothers me a lot. So I hope that answers the question.
And you mentioned gas prices. Forget about
gas and food. Did you see the price of bacon? It's like $9 for a pack of bacon.
Everything's going up.
Yes. And that's not our fault either.
What would you say to inspire people to continue to have goals and dreams during this precarious period instead of giving in to the whims of what we heard earlier about suicide and other depression-oriented afflictions that can bring us down or take us out?
Well, for me, I would say during this time, it's given me time to reflect on different things that I actually wanted to do and things I was working on and manifest harder to make those things happen in a more real time type of way. I wanted things to change. If I said, when we get out this quarantine and we get into this place where I can do so, I'm going to actually move and do what I need to do and call those folks. They're going to say yes or they're going to say no. So right now I'm like, either, you know, it's in go mode right now. And that's what's been beneficial in this time for me to go towards my goals. Future goals, I would like to own properties here in Minnesota. I would like to own properties, gain some of the properties my dad has. You know, I don't want him to die to get it, but at the same time, I would like to be able to attain property. That's my thing. Like, I want to attain property, and I want to make sure people have low income can have something very nice. You know what I'm saying? I want to build something that is going to be really great, that's going to be good for all, and they don't have to feel like they're living in a slum, you know. So that's what COVID inspired for me, is to go and to build.
This question fits perfect for something that I just read on Facebook. It had a picture of a sliver of a moon, and it said that the moon, I'm paraphrasing, the moon taught me that I could shine even if I wasn't full. And that's how life is, you know. Like, I've been in some dark places. I forgot that I shine, you know. I've dimmed other lights because I forgot that I shine, you know. And now my life is different, you know. My outlook is different, so therefore my life is different. I look at the world now that there are dreams and realities to be had no matter how dark the day is, you know, and I can choose to smile, you know. I can choose to live my life in a way that lifts other people up and reminds people that they shine. I don't have to conform to what's happening in the world today with all of the adversity and travesty around the world. I'm conscious to it. I am a survivor of many things myself, a formerly incarcerated person, a person living with HIV, a person who had low self-esteem and low self-worth because of those things. And today I face life a little bit different. I take that as education and experience in order to carry me into my future, and still making plans, still dreaming. You know, if you're not dreaming anymore, get a new pillow, try something different.
Say that, both say it.
Currently, Joe and I are planning to buy the home that we've been renting from for over 2 years. You know,
Congratulations.
Yes, and we'll both be first-time homeowners.
I want my invite to the party.
Yes.
And I'll also be a first-time homeowner within my family, which is a pattern for folks of color, you know. And so changing generational patterns, a lot of times we call them curses, you know, because we inherit a view of the world that our parents had, that their parents had, and it becomes generational. And so some of these patterns within my own family are changing because I see the world different, you know, because
I'm so proud of you guys.
Because of what the moon taught me, you know, that I can still shine even if I'm not full. And so that's how I face the day.
For more information on monkeypox and how to keep you and your loved ones safe, please visit the website listed below. Well, thank you to the Minnesota Department of Health. Thank you to the one and only Jerome T. Evans, Raymel Gibbons, Ramona Rateau, people on the street, queer and trans family members, Pink Power panel members, and thank you to you. Remember, Deconstruction Zone, Losing Your Psychic Pounds, Rebooting Who You Are, the book written by Todd Michael Barnes and Louis Blaze, is now available to order on Amazon just for you. If you or a loved one still needs to get the COVID-19 vaccine, visit the website address listed below. Today we discussed the condition of Black men in Minnesota. We also talked about monkeypox and even touched on the Anthony Edwards mess. But what we really talked about, just the same as every week, what we really talked about were the issues of self-worth and living with joyful love. Remember, LGBTQIA persons and our allies, you are not alone. You can find us 24/7 at our brand newly designed website, www.equitynewsnetwork.com. Find us on our YouTube channel at Equity News Network. And don't forget to smash that like button and remember to hit subscribe. Until our next episode and until we meet again, it's my hope we dish up some respect and lean in toward love for all of us at ENN. Todd Barnes reporting.